So I just want to start by talking about my intent for this video and all the videos I'm going to be making. The intent of the videos are to encourage peace through education. So if you are someone who currently uses the method of publicly calling someone out, I want you to know that this video is in no way a finger pointing. Rather, it is a means of offering an alternative to using that method. If you are someone who currently uses publicly calling someone out to address conflict, and your purpose in doing so is to shame, blame, and hurt them, then this video is not for you because you are getting exactly what you want. But if you are using public calling out and your purpose in doing so is to elicit change and to push forward a cause that you have, then this video is absolutely for you. So what is call-out culture? A lot of you may be in the dark about just what the problem is. Well, I'd like to start by reading a quote from an article written by Assam Ahmad. Call-out culture refers to the tendency among progressives, radicals, activists, and community organizers to publicly name instances or patterns of oppressive behavior and language use by others. People can be called out for statements and actions that are sexist, racist, ableist, and the list goes on. Because call-outs tend to be public, they can enable an armchair and academic brand of activism, one in which the act of calling out is seen as an end in itself and an alternative to speaking to an individual privately and not in a way that would make a public spectacle. Calling someone out publicly is presumptuous, damaging, and in most cases, unwarranted. When you publicly call someone out, there are a great many things that you do know and that you do not know. I'd like to go over a list that I've created of things that you do know when you publicly call someone out and the things that you do not know when you publicly call someone out. So here's the list. You do know your grievance with them. You do know some basic information about them and their life. You do know what your objective is, or in other words, what you want for them to change. You do not know if this is something they are already working on, if there is a reason they are not addressing the issue, if they are simply unaware of the problem. You do not know details about their life and who they are. You do not know how a public shaming will affect them psychologically. You do not know how the public's view of them will change. You do not know how the public will be affected if the person is forced into hiding from your calling out. So in short, when you call out a person publicly, you are presuming to have a lot of knowledge that you do not, and you're choosing to build a case against a person where you have either no foundation or very little foundation. There's a book I'm writing which is essentially theories of me, and I'd like to share with you a little excerpt from that book. I think it has a good place in this video. It says, people like to put things into boxes. It's a human tendency. Arranging things into boxes with pre-prescribed notions as to how they should interact with the world gives people a feeling of control. A box gives them a point from which to build assumptions, judgments, and context. It's like the tether of a tetherball. With the ball securely tethered, it's easy to know how it's going to act, react, and interact with you. By extension, you know how to interact with it. If social graces were a tetherball, the variables would be greatly reduced and there would be less chance of poor social calculations. If only this were actually the case. The reality is, people are far too complicated for boxes, and our efforts to contain and predict people's existence is futile. The difference between what I imagine someone's life to have been and how it actually was has often surprised me. I would venture to say that people would be surprised by my life. From the outsider's perspective, I imagine my life looks like it has been cushy and easy, but that is not the reality. In reality, I have been broken open, laid bare, left behind, and turned away. I have been abused, ignored, looked over, malnourished, and neglected. I have been disowned, discriminated against, talked about. I have suffered a lack of human touch. I have been left alone. I have been hurt. I have told my story to unbelieving ears and poured my heart out to opportunists. I have cried myself to sleep, screamed myself to hoarseness, and beaten the walls to exhaustion. I have stood alone, always. So what's my point? My point is, I am not unique. Every person you see is fighting battles that you know nothing about. Every single one. When you take issue with a community member, the non-presumptuous and humble way to address it is by first taking a step back and looking at yourself honestly. Do you honestly have enough information to be addressing this issue with the person? How much do you know about them? Is the information you received secondhand, or is this something that you have directly observed or that has happened to you? That's the first step. If after you take that self-reflective step, you still feel like you are the one in the position to talk to the person, then do so privately. When you call out a person publicly, you lose control of the situation. You put something on social media with your public grievance, and a very great number of people jump on the bandwagon. You don't have control of who jumps on the bandwagon. You don't have control of the dialogue. You don't have control of how hateful the discussion becomes. And unfortunately, from behind computer screens, people can be ruthless and vicious. So even if your ultimate intent was not to hurt and damage an individual, they will be hurt and they will be damaged. And there is a better way. And that's what I'm going to get to in the next videos. I'm going to be speaking about how the emotional brain works, so we can all understand exactly what happens to a person and to a person's brain when they are held accountable in a public call-out type of way. For now, though, I'm going to leave you with a quote that's incredibly well known, but I would like everyone to think about it when they're reflecting on this video, and also keep it in mind as you watch the rest of the video series. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, reason like a child, think like a child. But now that I have become a man, I have put an end to childish things.